Have you ever seen so many tomatoes? And you know what the funny thing is? I keep picking and picking, and they keep ripening and ripening. Hi, it's Robbie from Southern California, and I do have something to say. I did my tomatoes my way, and everybody did it their way. They were telling you to string them. They were telling you to clip them. They were telling you to trim them, top them, take the suckers off. I'm sitting here telling you, no, you don't do that to tomatoes. Tomatoes is a rambling vine. If it wasn't strung up like this, it would be all over the ground going wild. And what would it be doing? It'd be producing hundreds and hundreds of tomatoes. But instead, all these years, a lot of the really big gardeners I was surprised on would tell you, you've got to trim them, you've got to string them, you got to have 1 liter. And you know what they were doing? And worst of all, what was breaking my heart were the people that didn't know were listening. So you know what you were doing? The ones that were listening? You were giving yourself no tomatoes. You'd sit there and watch your tomato plants grow, and you would go, wow, look, I got a tomato on my plant. I have 3 tomatoes. I am so lucky. No, if you would have done it the way nature intended tomatoes to grow, you would have hundreds. You saw me pick in my trough. You saw me clear out these giant bags of tomatoes, buckets of tomatoes, and guess what? I'm going to go back there and finish that tomorrow to get more off. In here, I've been picking. The more I pick, the more come. And have I trimmed anything off of here? Nothing. All I have trimmed on this is brown, dead leaves. Leaves that the plant does not need. And for somebody or a few of you come back this year and tell people after tomato season is heading on its way out for a lot, saying, I only told you to trim your plants. I only told you to top your plants because everybody else was doing it and I thought you wanted to do it too. And they didn't. And they got a lot of tomatoes. So let me tell you right now, you want a fancy groomed plant, trim your tomatoes. Take the suckers off. You want to grow food, stop trimming your tomatoes. I don't care if it's cherry tomatoes. I don't care if it's large tomatoes. You don't trim the tomatoes if you want to have food production. Food production is the plant grows and continues to grow on the suckers that you are trimming off all these tomatoes. If I would trim off the suckers, I have nothing. Every time there's a sucker coming out, it's growing tomatoes. That's what the plant is trying to do. The plant is growing all these side shoots to grow more fruit. Why would you want to cut that off? You want to cut something off? Come through and cut off this. Plant doesn't need it. Compost it. And let the plant grow new growth as it's doing now. I'll probably have tomatoes growing until winter. So right now, we're still in summer. We're got to go through fall. And here in Southern California, as long as we don't freeze, the tomatoes will keep growing. Had I trimmed them, either top them or removed the suckers, as some of you want to call it, which is the main part of the plant, I wouldn't have any more. It would just die out. The plant would be done. Now, plants can fizzle out. If you leave them and stop pulling all the tomatoes off, and you just let it sit, which I have done, I will admit, then at that point, the plant is done. Nature tells it, hey, you've done your job. You grew a lot of tomatoes. Good job. Go back to the earth, goes back to the soil, and it turns into compost. But we can stop that. We can slow it down. That is the call of nature to bring the plant back. We can start trimming all the red tomatoes. It's an easy job. Now, normally on a lot of plants like my squash, I pick it as I need it with my greens, my celery, sorrel, whatever I'm growing, brassicas, I pick as I need. But with tomatoes, if you want the plant to continue on, get your ripe tomatoes off the plant. By taking them off, the plant doesn't get the full signal, kind of like cucumbers, same thing happens with them, saying, hey, you've done a great job. You've produced 1 million seeds. It's done. Take the ripe tomatoes off and then freeze them. You're going to have all the tomatoes you want all through the winter. That's what I'm doing. I already bagged up so many tomatoes that I am going to have to say, I'm lazy. I look at all these red tomatoes, all these yellow tomatoes, all the orange tomatoes, and I say, do I really want more? I've got bags in the freezer already. But I am going to go through. I mean, look, I picked a whole bunch here, and what happened? It's growing more. That's what's going on. The more you pick, see how this one has been cleaned off? The more you get green tomatoes. The more you leave, well, it's still going to get green tomatoes, but it could slow down. It could get, I don't like when people call it a disease. They go, oh, look, it's diseased. It's turning yellow. It's not diseased. Some of them are, yes, but sometimes it's merely being called back to the earth, to the soil, because it's done its job. Now, you can groom a lot of tomatoes, which I'm going to do in the trough. Sometimes by taking off all the yellowing leaves, all the fruit that's ripe, and cleaning up the plant at that time of yellow or brown leaves, it can produce more growth. A lot of times coming from the top. But if I would have taken off, these are suckers. If I would have taken off suckers, this is a sucker. I wouldn't have had the tomatoes. So please, what I'm asking you to do, whether it's this year or next year, come spring, because believe it or not, we'll be thinking about it after the holidays of what tomatoes we want to grow. Think about when somebody tells you something. If you're not sure, research it. And don't just research it once. Go through a lot of research. And I think you'll find out that sometimes picking green leaves and trimming off the suckers and topping your plants may be harmful to you. Plants may grow, but you won't get all the production that you really want. Research, research, research. I can't emphasize that enough, especially when you're new. Now, you want a compact plant, you want to keep it short, you don't want to produce that many tomatoes, go ahead and remove all the suckers. Well, that means taking off this thing. That means taking off that with the tomatoes growing there. That means taking all of this off. Oh, there's a sucker up there. Okay, well, it's only got, 15 tomatoes on it, but let's take it off. Do you really want to do that? And to see people come on, big gardeners now, apologizing, saying, they must have gotten some feedback, because to see a video come up, I've seen quite a few saying, oh, I'm so sorry I've told you to remove all the suckers, but a lot of people want to keep their plants trimmed, or they want it topped. No, you don't, unless you want a nicely groomed garden with no fruit. And then trim to your heart desires. So I hope I'm giving you sparks of ideas with your tomatoes. Even now, trim off the red ones. I've got a big job here. I've got to get all these off. There's probably 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70. There's probably about 100 to 150 red tomatoes ready to come off here. I've got a whole bunch more in the bird garden I've got to get off. And then all along the wall. Now, that's another thing. I'm removing it, but I think the ravens are getting some. And I'm letting some of the ravens do that, because this way they mess around over there, but they're leaving my good tomatoes. So I'm still getting a lot off, I will tell you. This year, I have not found one single hornworm. Not one, but I know they're here, because I've got clips of birds that are coming in here, especially the orioles, and they are pulling them off when I don't see them. I haven't even seen any evidence of them, which means they're really keeping up with the insects for me. So why do I keep birds in my garden? Why do I entice the birds with sticks in there? Here they've got a pole. Why? So they can fly in here, sit on the tomato stake, look around, and reach over and pull the hornworms off. They're my workers. Is it free? Yeah, I'm not really giving them much. A little nectar on the deck with the hundreds and thousands of hummingbirds. But all in all, I can't beat that. Oh, and you know what? We'll have to talk about this. A little rotting compost tea Doesn't hurt anything either. It does. Boy, does this thing stink. I will have to say, it really does help the tomatoes grow. And that is also free. So with that, have a wonderful day. And don't forget to eat what you grow, because that is so important. Bye-bye. Could you imagine I wouldn't have any of this if I would have trimmed the tomatoes like they told me?